Those of you who are following along in the program, I'm not Dave. I've never really wanted to be Dave. Actually, Dave was driving here from Mississippi, and he had some medical issues, I understand. He's doing okay, but he was unable to be here. First of all, wasn't that a great slideshow y'all put together? I mean, let's hear it. Some great memories. So, best friends are as rare as diamonds. They're very hard to find. They're even harder to cultivate and grow. And their worth simply cannot be measured. Aristotle once said, "True friends are one soul in two bodies." It's also been said that true friends are the family you choose. You know, I'm somewhat amused by the younger generation on social media like Facebook, Instagram, X, who appear to be in a contest to see how many friends they show or how many followers they have. They brag about having 400, 700, even 1,000 friends sometimes. Or for the famous celebrities, 1 million, 3 million, 5 million followers, for crying out loud. The fact is that most people can count their true, best, closest friends on one hand.
Amen.
In fact, studies show that most people have between 1 and 4 friends, best friends. Tony Fauché was one of these 4 in my life. My wife Janice grew up with Tony in Florida and was around him a lot, primarily because Tony and Janice's older brother Irvin were childhood best friends. So Janice has known Tony for over 70-something years. Their bond was very deep. I first met Tony back in 1980, 45 years ago, when he and his gorgeous bride, Colleen, moved to Dallas from Boston. I was sharing an apartment at the time with Steve, the younger brother of Janice. I came home early one day, around noon, and there was this guy, a complete stranger, with bushy mustache, curly, unkempt hair, sitting cross-legged in front of my apartment door, leaning against it with a duffel bag and a tennis racket laying across his lap. I locked eyes with him, and I said in a slow, quiet, and deliberate voice, "I don't know who you are, but I'll live behind that door. Do you want to go play some tennis?" Well, Tony laughed and stood up and said, "I'm Tony from Boston, and evidently Steve failed to tell you that I was coming today and that I'm going to be staying with you guys while I look for a job." So after he brought his belongings inside, I started sizing him up, as guys tend to do. Tony was about my height, but a little heavier, and I noticed he had a little pudge belly on him because I could not see his belt buckle. I immediately thought to myself, I can take this guy. So I was done working for the day, so I asked him again, you wanna go play some tennis and hit some balls until Steve gets home? So off we went. True story, for the most part. Now keep in mind, I was very athletic growing up. I was all-state, all-district quarterback. I threw 27 touchdown passes my senior year. I played basketball, baseball, I ran track. I could beat most people at ping pong. But even more important than all of that, you could see my belt buckle. I thought that I would give this East Coast Yahoo a warm welcome to the South with a little tennis shellacking, especially since it was a very hot and humid day in Dallas. Easy peasy. So we started hitting that little yellow fuzzy ball, and Tony was standing in the middle of the court on the baseline, tennis racket twirling in his right hand, a lit cigarette in his left hand. His first volley was a hard overspin with smoke on it, landing within 6 inches of the right corner of the court. I somehow was able to return the ball to Tony, who immediately hit a strong backhand, deceptive undercut all the way over to the left corner. I got there, but I was a millisecond late. He kept hitting hard line drives to both corners, basically having his way with me, running me ragged while I was dripping with sweat. My heart was pounding. I was seeing double. I couldn't catch my breath, and my tongue was hanging out like an East Texas bird dog. Not once did he hit it directly to me, even after I asked him to. From that day forward, we became best friends. Tony and Colleen and Janice and I, for the past 45-something years, did everything together. We were about the same ages. We liked the same things. We just clicked as couples. Our lives mirrored each other's lives. We bought our first house about the same time, started buying furniture about the same time. We worked hard. We played even harder. We started having babies until we finally figured out what was causing it. We traveled on family vacations together. We flew to beach vacations. We went on cruises together. We shared condo rooms. Tony and I talked on the phone every week, almost, just checking in for the past 45 years until the very end. Well, it's already been said before me today, but it's a well-known fact that Tony had a reputation that was, may I put it this way, he was efficient with money. I'm not saying Tony was tight, but to be politically correct, he might be referred to as monetarily prudent. So I cannot celebrate his life without sharing one of my favorite fiscal stories with you. For you old timers, do you remember the Buffalo nickel? We used to tease Tony that his Buffalo nickel would roar when the check came, and it roared a lot. Tony and Colleen and Janice and I took our families to Gulf Shores, Alabama, every year to the beach for many, many years. And on one particular trip, we had packed up, ready to return home to Dallas after having a wonderful vacation. You know, gas stations around beach resort areas were always expensive, so Tony said he would be stopping before we got to Mobile to gas up. So we took off, and as we got closer to Mobile, he called my cell phone and gave me a heads up that he would be taking exit number 16 this side of Mobile to fill up. So we followed Tony as he took the exit. We immediately passed a beautiful Exxon, but we just kept going. We passed what looked like a brand new Texaco. He never even pumped the brakes. Finally, we zoomed past a 7-Eleven convenience store. I finally called Tony back and said, "Where in the heck are you going?" He said in a monotone CPA-type voice that he had looked it up on the internet, and there was this station not too much further that he had the cheapest gas in the area. I said, okay. So we finally arrived at the station. Tony proceeded to fill up while we waited in our car. So finally, we were heading back to the interstate to continue our trip home. We had actually detoured 7 miles round trip off the interstate so Tony could save 10 cents a gallon.
Oh my God, yes.
Now, for you mathematically challenged young people on a 20-gallon fill-up, that's $2 savings. True story. But if you really, really wanted to know the truth about Tony, he was one of the most generous and giving men I've ever known. You know, a man's character is the foundation of his legacy, which is built on his faith, his ethics, his morals, his trust, and his honor. I said that pretty fast, so I'm going to say it again so it'll sink in even better. A man's character is the foundation of his legacy. That is built on his faith, his ethics, his morals, his trust, and his honor. Tony's handshake was as good as any paper contract. No, birthdays and celebrations and holidays were a big deal in our group of friends that we ran around with, and so it was, of course, a really big deal when Tony turned 40, especially since Tony was the first in our group to hit that landmark. So for his 40th birthday party way back in 1990, I wrote a poem for Tony that more or less covered his life up until that point. So in closing, and in his honor today, and to celebrate his memorable and beautiful life, I'd like to share it with each one of you. I just titled it 40-something. So, he migrated down from the east to seek his fortune with his bride. He wasn't worried in the least, for he had his computer by his side. He knew that he would find work soon, with American Airlines as his goal, so he played tennis by day till noon, until Sky Chefs called and said, "Let's go." So he sent for his bride from the east to come down and join him in Big D. Oh, she thought she'd be living with Tony, when in fact she got Tony, Steve, and me. Soon they moved west to Arlington. They began buying couches and cars. By day they did work, at night they had fun. Their money stretched plenty afar. Taxes and mortgages became part of his life when he purchased his first house with glee. Old Tony was tight, but it felt like a knife when he paid his first utility. They still took their trips and played in the sun, Las Vegas, Bermuda, and Greece. They were intent on still having fun, while Lisa still wanted a niece. Little Tara was born out of love and joy for Tony and his bride one day. And even though he had tried for a boy, he was happy buying pink, they say. So they traded some trips for diapers and such, and nurtured their little girl. Tony worked hard and didn't want much, but he still wanted his little girl. So they tried once again for a baby in blue, Tony and his bride one fine day, but they were blessed with you-know-who, Tony's cards of life stacked, he'd say. He thought he'd reshuffle and try once again, with the third time being the charm. All he wanted was his little Ben when Beth came home on his arm. Tony's been blessed with a bride and 3 girls. Life has been good to him. His home is filled with dresses and curls, and he uses a lot of film. Another chapter to be written soon. His friends and family await. Some say his idol is Pat Boone, but it's probably just according to fate. His business card now shows American. His plans and dreams have come true. They still play, take trips, and have fun, for their worship and faith are the glue. Their future is bright. They've been blessed from above, and it all started simply, you see. One man and his bride created the love that has grown his own family tree. Now, Tony turns 40 and reflects a bit on his life's journey to date. While shaving this week, he had a fit because he noticed gray hairs that he hates. His bones seem to creep. It's tough to get up. He wonders aloud to himself, I'm getting old and I can't keep up with my bride, 3 girls, and myself. Old Tony is first to turn 40, you see, and it probably bothers him to no end. For all his old running mates, buddies, and me, turn to the elder, our friend. 30-something is now but a dream. Turning 40 cuts just like a knife. Losing a step on the tennis court, it seems, is like losing a step on your life. Good luck to you as you pioneer the way into the future of old. Go to bed early and be proud of that gray. Your age is your mind, I'm told. So enjoy your birthday, you deserve the best of all that life can give you. This birthday tribute was given no less from a friend who thinks a lot of you.